Y'all, they're not just gonna give up on the LittleBigPlanet franchise. It's one of Sony's most iconic franchises. It's the only reason many of us even wanted a PS3 and PS4. Guys, I have huge news. I just saw a leak for a work-in-progress game called LittleBigPlanet Adventure that's supposed to release later this year for the 10-year anniversary of LBP. Okay, I was coping last year, but this year, there's real reason to believe there will be a LittleBigPlanet 4, because we're nearing the release of the PS5, so Sony will want to revive an old franchise, no? Okay, I admit, I was wrong. There's no LBP 4 coming out. I was just a very gullible kid, and I made 2 wrong predictions. My bad. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Fuck. I admit, it's looking bad. But the resource server's still up for LittleBigPlanet. So maybe, just maybe, we'll eventually see an LBP 4? Okay, I admit, it won't happen.
Unless... Okay, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm stretching a little bit with this one. If I had to guess, I'd put it at like 15% odds we actually get anything LBP related from Sony in 2026. But let's just have hope anyways, because I have 3 different points as to reasons I believe, well, want to believe, we will see a LittleBigPlanet game in the big 26. So what hope could we possibly have if we wanted to get as high on hopium as humanly possible? Well, let's begin. Last week, Sony and iam8bit announced the official LittleBigPlanet vinyl out of the blue. This was a shock to everyone in the community as it took up my entire Twitter feed. This happened a year after the official soundtrack release in celebration of 30 years of PlayStation. Now, this alone is not enough to have blind, unrealistic hope, as this was a project that Steven Isbell was working on before his departure, so clearly it's not some spur-of-the-moment plan, but it gives hope that Sony at least remembers and acknowledges the financial significance of the LittleBigPlanet fanbase. Recently, U2 has made a few different announcements for different LittleBigPlanet inspired Sackboy figures. Now, based on the fact that there have been numerous iterations of Sackboy made, it's safe to assume there's been at least significant enough rate of sale to justify the manufacturing. The hope is that this suggests to Sony potential value in the making of an LBP game. I even recently noticed at my local Walmart the sale of a Sackboy piggy bank, which was like low-key crazy to see in 2026. The creation of LittleBigPlanet merchandise doesn't necessarily mean that Sony could be working on a new addition to the franchise, but a recent report from Sony executives suggests that they've been looking into the revival of old unused IPs. Now, obviously, that doesn't necessarily hint at an LBP whatsoever, because there's a lot of unused IPs that Sony, for no apparent reason, holds on to and does nothing with. But when taken into account with prior points of them experimenting with releasing LBP content, it at least suggests that LittleBigPlanet and the Sackboy franchise are at least on Sony's mind when looking into the old catalog of IPs. Now, we know that Sony is at least presenting this as a fairly big event and not the usual state of play, as they've been heavily marketing it and emphasizing the significance of it. Even goes as far as to rent space in real-life movie theaters to stream the state of play and actively encouraging people to record their live reactions. Now, only time is to tell for whether or not this will actually end up being the big event Sony wants us to believe it will be, but for now I think there's more joy in hypothesizing and falling into the hype, even if it does lead to disappointment. To be frank, the LBP community has been depressing for a long time now. I've been part of this community for going on 15 years this year, ever since I first set eyes on the game at the age of 7. And since the initial server hacks of 2021, it has been almost exclusively negativity and doomerism. I know realistically the odds of an LBP game getting announced tomorrow are slim, but hope is all we have. The worst case scenario is everything stays the same. Sony has already taken away our servers, abandoned their promise to keep all games able to be platinumed, and delisted all of the LBP franchise from PlayStation Store. There really isn't any lower from here for us as a community. But even without Sony, we have maintained a community through creating our own levels, archiving old levels, and reviving servers. So why not have some fun and entertain the hype of a new LBP game announcement? Because maybe, just maybe, one day we'll get our wish. But if not, we always have each other.